Maria Bryce Fabro, founder and CEO of Bryce Inspired Careers, a career development firm that provides ed-tech solutions to schools through various employability skills-driven programs. Chair and founder of Hero Private Limited Company in Singapore. Co-founder of Emotional Reset Center. Has over 20 years of training, leadership, consulting, and knowledge management experience. She is also an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, learning space organizer, and experienced training consultant. Vida Santos Archaga. Top 100 Most Influential Filipino Women on LinkedIn. President and CEO, Center for Research, Education, Solutions and Training or CREST Incorporated. Human Resources and Organization Development Practitioner. Change and Transformation Consultant. Life Coach, Motivational Speaker, Artist, and Writer. Teacher, Mentor, Employability Champion, Women Empowerment Advocate, Cancer Survivor, and Global Filipino. Vishal Chopra. CEO and founder of Umwelt.Ai. Ex-HR head in Home Credit India, Indiamart.com are systems. An ICF certified success coach and life coach. Has built and launched several HR products, internally and externally managing more than 500,000 users. Has helped companies scale more than 10 times in highly competitive marketplaces. Darwin Rivers. VP HR for Global HR Operations for a global BPO company. Founder and president of Philherg Incorporated. A non-stock, not-for-profit organization advancing the HR profession in the Philippines. Has more than 20 years of leadership and management experience in the BPO, IT, shared services industries, both in operations management and human capital management. Top 30 leaders in LinkedIn 2022. Marvin Rodriguez. Country Director of Miramed. Chairman of Talent Nexus and Director of HCM Nexus. Assistant Governor of Rotary Philippines. An animal lover and community development advocate.
There you go. Thank you so much. This is our fire chat discussion, and we are focused on one beautiful topic, that is the future of employee engagement. So I am very happy that some questions have been prepared. But if you feel like you have questions that are on fire right there, please fire away. I'll be overemphasizing the word fire because we're on a fire chat discussion right now. So, Ms. Vida, would you like to start asking questions with our panelists?
I think let's go to the basics first. Okay,
Right.
So I saw the profiles of our participants. So there are seasoned and tenured leaders and who have gone from one company to another. There are the younger ones and aspiring leaders for that matter. So different levels in their organizations right now. And so I think we must zero in into, we always say employee engagement and employee experience, but what is it really? How do we define it? So my good friend here, Marvin, yeah, I'd like you to start that. And yeah, we'll help each other as a tandem.
Sure. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Vida and Bryce. Nice to meet you. So employee engagement. So let me just start by saying that employee engagement is making sure that your people are able to stay in the company while performing at the expected level. So it's not just about people, staying, because that's the normal thing that we're thinking. What is the employee engagement? People would be asking, what is your attrition level? And then if you would be saying that your attrition is low, your retention is high, they think your people are engaged. They're actually just getting the half of it. Because the other half of that is they're staying, but are they performing? So that means they are not actually engaged. So you have to make a balance of people who wanted to stay with a company and who wanted to work They could be going in and out. I mean, going day in and day out on a daily basis, and just clicking on time. And that is actually more problematic to the organization as compared to them leaving, because they're occupying a certain position that's supposed to be bringing in productivity, but they're not. So employee engagement for me is people are staying and performing at as an expected level.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with that. And Marvin has gone quickly to the bottom line, okay, to the bottom of it. Yeah. And that's really very appreciated, because I think we have a lot of misnomers and notions, right, guys? Yeah. So when people look at attrition, for example, and it's high, for me, we should look into the details, right? Because there can be good attrition and there can be bad attrition as well. So thank you for that emphasis, Marvin, that it is an equation of, people stay, and the ones staying are really contributing to the business and the organization, right? Yeah. But also to add to the definition, I'd like to say that for me, it's the level of involvement or investment, psychological investment and involvement that an employee devotes to his or her organization. Okay, so it's the pride that you carry being part of the organization that you represent. You are proud to talk about it inside the company and even outside the company. And also, you have that initiative to go beyond what is expected of you, right? Not just what your job description says, what your boss instructs you to do. And then also, you support the advocacies of the company that you represent. So you are a brand ambassador. Even if you are not formally tagged as one, you should be a brand ambassador of your company. And of course, the bottom line, Marvin said it, there should be that intention to stay, okay? And there should be a balance. The individual, the organization, we leaders ensure that they are in good health in all aspects, but our employees, our co-employees for that matter, should also help us keep our organizations and business be in good health as well. Okay? Yeah. So that's it.
I'm curious, what about our audience? When you say people engagement, what comes to your mind? What's the word that you associate closest to that word, people engagement? May we have some type-in answers on the chat, please, while we're having this conversation? I'm curious, Marvin. You talk about performance, right? They have to be performing at the same time, right? Isn't that the job of the human resource as well, to make sure that when we talk of the engagement, it's actually measured? Well, from what I see, some people are not performing because the metrics for them to be evaluated upon, for example, is not clear. So metrics are not drawn properly, so they don't really know if they're performing or not. Some organizations would have that not too clear evaluation system, if I may say. What do you think about it?
Right. So engagement is driven by human resources, but it is the responsibility of everybody. And performance is, well, it's monitored by people managers, driven by human resources, but still, again, a responsibility of everybody. There are many ways to monitor performance, right? I mean, all companies would have metrics, KPIs that they are, really looking into on a daily or weekly or a monthly basis. What is important to that is these metrics, the systems that you're using, the processes that you are implementing are easy to understand. Because a lot of companies would, invest in so many technology and so many new things, but are they making sense to the organization? Sometimes going back to the basics is actually more important as to having, let's say, the latest technology that doesn't make sense. So make sure that there is a connection between your system with the capability and the level of understanding of your employees. Because what are systems for if it will not go down and be understood by the people?
Right. True. I totally agree. I have a little wonderful comment here from Melanie. When we asked what comes to her mind about people engagement, she said, when you start thinking not just about yourself, but the welfare of people around you at work, that is being engaged, concerned and caring. Wow. So we're actually talking about the core of what employee wants, right? According to Melanie. So that's good. They are to be they have to matter because there is a caring culture that they feel in the organization. So thank you, Melanie, for that. Wonderful. It was not just a word, it was a paragraph, but it was all beautiful. Thank you. Okay. You mentioned, Marvin, about technology. We have a guy, a wonderful guy who had been introduced earlier, who is into technology and has been working hard on making sure that our organizations are, able to listen for our that we know who's disengaged and who are engaged, and we can put something right there as a solution right away. I'd like to welcome Vishal in the conversation. Vishal, you're an HR and at the same time more into the IT development. That's special, right? That's very special. Tell me, how did you start Umwelt, being, the main center for this fire chat? How did Umwelt start? You are muted, Vishal.
Yeah. Uh, Bryce, I think it was very much in mind since more than a decade, actually.
Mm-hmm.
When I was heading HR with different companies. So we were growing at a very fast pace, and we would have grown 10x, 15x during the 10 years I was working there. Now, one of the things I realized while working with these companies is that as we were growing, I was getting more and more far away from my employees.
Mm-hmm.
And I have very lesser data available for myself
Alright.
to know my people better
Okay.
while I was taking the decisions. And I think that is a struggle every HR head or business leader has. Because as we grow, in a shorter teams, 200, 300, 400 people, we would have been interacting with the people ourselves. But now when we grow to those 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, it is impossible for us to interact with everyone.
Yes.
Now, so I was largely, you become largely dependent on your team members to interact with them on their behalf and bring that data back, which is a huge exercise. And you end up doing those annual surveys, which probably as a human, I always found those surveys to be inhuman because they were treating my people only as numbers, nothing else. And when you talk to employees, they would always still feel neglected because they do not get anything back on it. Now, that is where it came to mind that why can't we build technology? So there was a lot of things going around, chatbots and stuff, artificial intelligence, natural language processing. So I thought that in the meantime, I was already out of corporate. I was doing consulting with HR tech companies. So I learned technology myself first. And that is where exactly this idea came that why can't we use technology who can actually talk on my behalf now to all the employees and accumulate that data centrally, analyze all the key performance indicators of experience and engagement level, throw that data to me. So that was where I probably started with an idea of, and I largely felt always that while all the HR leaders and the business leaders want to do it, they are always handicapped because it takes a lot of effort, resources, time, and money to hear everyone. And humanly, maybe it was always impossible to capture this humongous amount of data and bringing insights out of it. So that is where I started. So today we help the companies interact with all the employees at all those important junctures of life cycle, we use behavioral science to have these conversations, and we have a first of its kind unique chatbot, which is 100% trainable by HR from front end. The language I want my bot to speak in my culture, my organization. So we call her Nikki, a listening
Yes.
officer. So Nikki is able to adapt 100% to what I want, how I want, when I want to speak to my employees.
Okay. So Nikki is the AI that propels, Umwelt, right? It's the one listening to all of this, using your technology. How differentiated are you as a business with the rest of the people engagement platforms that are available in the market right now?
I think the first thing is that the way we understand HR is a major differentiator. So we come from a background. So it is the opposite. Yeah, we were from the HR background, learned technology because I was really passionate about it. Right? I wanted to do it, right? And I've helped HR tech companies for a long period actually to build the products as per our HR requirement. So now I'm doing it myself. So probably that is one of the major differentiators. Again, as I said, so this is the first completely configurable or adaptable chatbot. So everyone would ask for those customizations and stuff. So we wanted to control the language completely because we understand that every culture and DNA of every company is different. So the way I've worked with 8 companies during my career. So the way I would have interacted with my people was different in each of those companies because my audience was different, my company's DNA was different, the vision and mission was different, right? So from that perspective, I think the biggest differentiator is that adaptability of language, and the complete behavioral science framework is inbuilt within the platform, from which understanding of the human psychology is much better. So these are not typical those 50 questions just shoot off to the employees, but we are talking about different conversations, personalized conversations for different user groups as per their roles and those are things. So I think communication, which is at the heart of the solution, that is the major differentiator. And then, yes, we do real-time analytics, which not many companies do on behavioral science.
All right. So technology working with people and making sure that Nikki listens to them 24/7, right? Those are the things I've understood. But how do you think is the comfort of somebody talking or sharing to a bot?
Yeah,
Was that
I think
considered? Was it factored?
in a new age of today, people are much more comfortable sharing the things on WhatsApp and Bibles rather than talking one-to-one. In fact, there are a lot of privacy issues when it is one-to-one interactions because people do not trust those many a times the HR partners as well. So they do not share openly. What we say is that from a technology point of view, there's 100% confidentiality maintained. Right? So this information, they know that where to whom it is going, and it would be only shared with that person who can actually solve the problem. So we are not only treating the people again as in annual feedback as numbers, but we are hearing them personally and also helping the HR partners solving those problems at a personalized level, which was the unique data missing in all kind of survey tools previously.
Okay, good. I hope there's more to like understand the whole system, how Nikki operates, how Nikki helps, etc. If there could be like a demo later on, maybe, so that our audience can see how it's done, especially if it's their first time to ever heard of this. Anyone who has been using or in the room, how many of us are using a people engagement platform at this particular time? Can we do a hand raising, please? Anyone in the room
Yeah,
familiar?
Bryce. Yeah,
Yes.
Bryce and friends. Yeah, so while they are, taking the opportunity to raise their hands and share
Mm,
that they have it or they don't have it.
okay,
Yeah, so
I
let's
see.
use the time also. Yeah, so I think a demo would not be appropriate at this time because of our time limit.
Yes.
However, yeah, I have seen demos of Umwelt.ai and met Nikki as well. Yeah, and I think that from a practical point of view, like my own company right now, I have a very small team. I can do individual, personal touch. I can ask them daily how they are, not only monitor performance, right? SLAs with our clients, etc., and their KPIs, but also keep track of our people's motivations, their changing needs and aspirations, right? They may be happily engaged and highly engaged, but still they will leave because I'm a very small company and they would love to, be trained while they're with me and they move on. And when they move on after 3 years, that's good for me. I mean, that's a very good experience already. But when we are dealing with companies with hundreds, with thousands of people, I think that's why we need to optimize our resources and use technology, right? Because we cannot talk to everyone in the 1,000 workforce or 2,000, 10,000. So I just would like to reiterate that when Vishal said we can easily get data, make sense of the numbers at every phase of the employee life cycle, what people say or what the voice of the employee says or expresses to us, then we will know where to zoom in terms of problem solving, root cause analysis, etc. So having said that, I'd like my friend here, Marvin, also to share what he thinks about these automated employee engagement monitoring
Um,
platforms
right.
or
Employee
system.
engagement system basically gives you information. That's the main essence of it. It works for organizations like us with hundreds of employees, but it should not be looked into as what it is for. It is for driving analysis. It is for getting information. It is not for solving employee engagement problems. It points out to what we are wanting to look out for, but probably not able to see because of the humongousness of this of the organization. But it is not the end all and be all of the problem. It's the start. It's the way that you'll be able to get the information that you need to get to a certain plan of action. But a word of advice there is that once you get that information, never lose the people touch. You know, you always have that because when as people managers, as company owners, as company executives, when we thought that we are investing in a system that's quite not expensive, but would be able to have an effect on our bottom line. We think that it will solve the problem. It will not. So let us still do not lose that drive to engage directly with our people, because that's the only solution to employee engagement problems. You could have all the information that you'll be able to get, but employee engagement itself, the word engagement is the operative word. Never lose that. So whatever system that you're having, no matter how expensive it is, no matter how easy or difficult or complicated it is to use, once you lose that certain type of connection, you lose everything. Or probably never lose if you're not able to talk to each of your employees, because that's going to be a huge. Make sure that your system enables you to communicate, to inspire them in a certain way, or by your mere presence, their move into a certain way. That's probably one of the uses of the leader nowadays?
Yeah. So to sum it up, yeah, I agree with Marvin. So together we say it's not the solution. Okay. It's a tool. It's an enabler for us. It makes our work easier. Okay. And so we can focus on analysis and, looking at where to look into. And mind you, every organization is different. So it cannot be one size fits all. And within the organization also, every employee is different. So at every phase of the employee life cycle, the employee needs something else, something different. Okay, so yeah, practically said, thank you.
Here, I would like to add something. Thank you, Marvin, for your comments, and I'm completely with it. I would like to add one thing here. When we are talking about technology, and it is not exactly technology, what we are doing is that we are humanizing conversations, right? So that was the first objective. Now, I sincerely believe, and I would have heard many of the friends and colleagues in the fraternity, right? So we all know that the biggest requirement of ours as a human being is being listened to. We all want to be listened to. We all want somebody to take care of our thinking the way we think, and that is there with all the employees as well. Right now, the first challenge what we are solving and what I wanted to solve was, because if you see today, in a lot of this chaotic world where there's a lot of digital technology, everything is there, right? So a lot of communication is happening. Now, what employees, if you go back to employees and ask them ever, they will still tell you that we feel neglected, right? And nothing is going to happen. So we are, even when we are asked something, nothing is going to happen. That is a common perception across. So the first thing we solve is that we are very clearly giving a message to our employees that we care about you, because we are listening to you at all those junctures of life cycle whenever it is important for you to be listened. So I believe that your 50% of the problem at an organization level gets solved as soon as you start listening to your people. Right? Again, I will repeat, it is not easy to do manually, and that is why this technology still, through a bot, humanly, we are having an interaction. So we are not only asking the questions, but we are interacting with them, right? And finding out that what is that they require help on. Not only that, we also identify, Marvin, the risk of leaving of the employee from these conversations, and identify that who are the people who are unhappy, who could be leaving the company, and what is the problem they are actually facing. And we generate these alerts proactively to the HR partner, who then calls this person, may have a physical meeting, and helps solving this problem personally at a personal level as well. Now, this builds the trust at an organization level, which is ongoing. And you rightly said, if this HR partner doesn't take the action, yes, that trust will not build. So it is a continuous exercise. Technology solution is a facilitator. It helps you doing all these things in a right manner, in a structured manner, which was impossible to do human. But the real, I will say, the real takeaway is that now employees get something out of each conversation. They know that if they will highlight something, there would be somebody who would be talking to them and trying to solve it as well. It may still be that as a decision maker, as an HR, I decide that no action is required on it, but that is where intellectual human ability still would be required. And I think that is where HR partners' actual role is also there. They are not to spend a lot of time in those all conversations, finding out, recording data, and pushing that data to the HR heads and the business leaders. So that is the whole work done, which is 90% of job. And that 10% which requires human intellectual ability, is still with the HR partners where they actually solve the problem.
Right. Vida, you have something to say there?
Yeah, I think it's time to share with the entire group, yeah, what Darwin Rivers prepared for us. Yeah, so he's representing the largest HR professionals group, and yeah, he's very gracious to accept our invitation, even amidst a series of meetings. That's why he's doing it virtually. Okay, guys. Yeah, go.
Greetings to the participants and organizers of Umwelt.Ai and Center for Research, Education, Solutions, and Training, or CREST. My name is Darwin Rivers. I am the founder and president of the Philippines HR Group. I am also currently the VP for Global HR Operations of Inspiro, a global BPO company. So, I was asked to talk about how important is employee engagement for organizations and businesses, whatever size, and how do I see it evolving since the pandemic and now that we are gradually returning to our sites or our workplace. I think let's start with aligning and defining what is employee engagement. The definition of employee engagement is basically a person or an employee who is fully absorbed by and is enthusiastic, motivated about their work. So it takes positive actions coming from this employee to further the organization's reputation and interest. Primarily, an engaged employee has a positive attitude towards the organization and the values that it represents. In contrast to that, a disengaged employee may range from someone who's just doing bare minimum at work or someone who is actively damaging the company's work or the company's reputation. Now, a lot of us, our understanding of employee engagement is basically how the employee is motivated to come to work and how productive the employee is, right? So basically, employee engagement proves that if there is a high level of employee engagement in the workplace, the understanding is that productivity level also increases. Employee engagement also improves work culture, reduces turnover, increases productivity, as I mentioned, and also it builds better work and relationships between client, customer, and the organization. Correct? So, high employee engagement basically turns workers into your best advocates because a highly engaged workers would always promote the company or the organization that he or she belongs to. Now, the problem with employee engagement is because of what has happened over the past 2-3 years, because of the advent of the pandemic, we've realized a lot of things. We've realized that our understanding, our methodologies, and even the tools and processes, and even the policies that were in place prior to the pandemic with regards to engaging employees may no longer be the right policies, processes, and tools that we should be using. We've realized that some of our action plans with regards to employee engagements are antiquated already. I'll give you an example. There was a big drop of employee engagement when the pandemic hits. And primarily, there was a survey, if I'm not mistaken, it was conducted by Forbes. And in this particular survey, this particular global survey, and if I'm not mistaken, it was released by Microsoft. This was during the pandemic. It says that employee engagement is basically a struggle of most companies. And because of this, a lot of employees are starting to be disengaged with their employers and organizations. The recent Gallup study shows that 64% of employees worldwide are unengaged already. About 15% of those are already actively disengaged. Or when you say actively disengaged, these are the people who are working against the mission of the organization. This made a lot of HR leaders, employers realize that we need to look into, as I mentioned, how do we ensure a successful employee engagement initiatives and programs that would cater to the new normal or the current needs of our employees. I just wanted to mention this, that in the last few days, I've even read an article that even C-levels are starting to be disengaged, and even C-levels are actually looking for other opportunities. And the reason for it is because not only because of the advent of the Great Resignation, the advent of the shift of the mindset of employees into what are essential to them, but it made organizations and companies realize that, are we really effective in engaging our employees? So let's start with what are the things companies are doing right now. Given that we had a realization based on the Gallup research that 1 out of 4 employees is already planning to move to another organization or to resign or to look for other work opportunities. And there's a lot of things that are driving that. Either lack of advancement, lack of upskilling opportunities, problems with management, or appreciation of the current setup of the organization. Now, post-pandemic, most of the companies started to realize that for them to be successful, they need to adapt to the new normal or the new normal ways of work. That's the reason why leading companies who take note of this particular change are now allowing employees to work 3 ways: remote, flex, or in office. This is by giving employees an opportunity to track their productivity in an area that fits to them, and of course what's best for them, and of course their families. Aside from the changes in work setting, there was a rise of the utilization of AI and digital media to ensure that we fully engage our employees. At the height of the pandemic, a lot of engagement are run through webinars, run through different Zoom meetings and whatnot. And a lot of HR leaders, trainers, and facilitators have been creative, thinking out of the box programs that would really try to fully engage employees even though it's on a virtual setup. And I understand that a lot of companies are successful, but reality is a virtual setup cannot replace a face-to-face experience, right? I think the reason why I am mentioning this is because going back to what I call the three important factors that directly impacts employee engagement would be the employee's trust in the company's leadership. If the leadership is not visible to the employees, then employees tends to think a lot of things of where the company is going, what are the decisions being made by our leadership team. Second would be employees' relationship with their immediate managers, supervisors, or team leaders. If their managers is not regularly communicating with them, then there's a lot of ambiguity. There's a lot of things that employees tends to think, and that would create a lot of demoralization. Last part would be the employee's pride of being part of the company. If your company is not able to adopt, is not able to implement tools, processes, and policies that would cater to the needs of the employees under the new normal, whether it's new working arrangement, new benefits, easier process of doing things, better communication to employees, not only using email, not only using chat, but really using each and every form of communication to engage employees, then that would make a dent on how the employee sees the organization. So all of these three things evolve into what? It evolves into cultivating work relationships via open communication. And that's the reason why I always believe that when you're engaging employees, you have to make sure that the core of your messaging in every initiatives would be what message are you trying to give to your employees? What message are you trying to tell them? Either it's reassuring them of where the company is going, either telling them the plans of how the company will be building itself again now at post-pandemic, how the company would be implementing different initiatives to improve engagement, either again through benefits, through different program initiatives or whatnot. It's always important is the message that you tell the employees, the story behind, the story that you tell to the employees. End of day, I can say that the new normal would bring us a lot of opportunities to use AI, to improve digitalization, to improve how things we do work, right? But let us not forget that the core of the business is our employees. And for us to be successful, we need to understand what are the current, relevant, and critical needs of our employees and how we can really engage them. We need to understand the demographics of our employees. We need to understand how our employees think. We need to understand how employees would be able to identify themselves as part of the organization. Communication is critical, especially at these times where still there's a lot of ambiguity post-pandemic. But I have full trust that as employers, people leaders, HR leaders, we always have the opportunity to think out of the box, to pivot, to create policies and processes and programs and initiatives that would really understand employees' needs. Just never forget that at the core of it is being genuine. I remember what my GM would always tell us. The reason why we're successful as an organization is because even if other companies are giving highly competitive salaries, what differentiates us from them is the culture that we build inside the organization. It's a relationships that we build with our employees. And that's the reason why most of our employees are highly tenured. Most of our employees have been with us for more than 5, 10, 15 years, and even 20 years. That is a sign of how successful and critical employee engagement should be. Understanding employees and being able to properly communicate and relay your message to them. That's my take on employee engagement. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Darwin. Well said. Well said. All right. So I think we had a wonderful list. You made your list on the pointers that was shared by Darwin, because it's very rich and it's really coming from his experience having been this HR leader that he is. All right. So again, looking forward to meeting Darwin in the future. All right. Okay. HRM came up with, the Society of Human Resource Management came up with a differentiation between engaged and disengaged employees. And I'd just like to mention, engaged employees would have these behaviors: optimistic, team-oriented, goes above and beyond, solution-oriented, selfless, shows a passion for learning, passes along credit but accepts blame. The disengaged behavior of disengaged employees, on the other hand, are pessimistic, self-centered, high absenteeism, negative attitude, egocentric, focuses on monetary worth, accepts credit, but passes along blame. I don't know if you can relate to that, or if you have seen this differentiation in the flesh. All right, so just a little HRM trivia right there. Okay. How are we, everyone? I am very grateful that we still have you listening. If you have questions, this is your chance to type these questions in, and we'll ask Marvin and Vishal and Vida for answers if you have any. Feel free to be part of the conversation. So far, we have heard from Vishal the different benefits of AI in employee engagement. Of course, there's an organic engagement, data-backed up decision making. I think what was very emphasized in that answer, Vishal, was you were talking about fairness and unbiasedness. There's of course increased productivity, that's a given. Improved communication, easy learning and development activities, and streamlined conflict resolution. It also improves decision making for HR leaders as well. So these are the benefits of AI. We just have to find the balance between, this human HR leadership with the AI support. As we have, of course, from Marvin, he emphasized that this is a tool. It doesn't solve conflicts. It doesn't solve problems, but it is a tool. But any tool that we have will facilitate, the decision making, and hopefully sounder decision making will solve the problems eventually. All right. We have time check. It's 4:01. I think we need to wrap up in the next 5 minutes. We have a question right here. Very good question. How can we turn the tables around if it's already the C-level who are looking for another job? Marvin, Vishal, would you like to take this one?
Right. That's going to be a interesting conversation between that C-level employee, because the tectonic effect of a person at that level leaving the organization would be so much. However, I am thinking that if that person is already at that level and thinking to leave, I think pretty much the decision has been made. But it is very important to whoever that needs to talk to that person is able to have that kind of conversation. What is the driving motivation on why that person is looking for another job? Because anyway, whatever level you are in, there's always something that you are looking for that you're not able to see, or there is that something that you wanted to achieve for yourself that probably the organization is not able to give anymore. I would assume that that person, given the level that he or she is able to talk it out with whomever he or she needs to talk it out, because he must be able to see that if there is still something that he can do, because he's not an entry-level employee, he's not an individual contributor, he is a C-level. There is already that level of responsibility, and he is that person who can make things happen. So he must be able to communicate whomever he needs to communicate to, what is it that he is looking for that the organization is not able to give. And if it's something that our organization is not yet ready to give, then that person needs to cut clean. We have to accept that. It's not that attrition is bad, but it would be better if that person, after having gone through everything, after having when all things are said and done, there will always come a time that you have to leave, and we have to accept that.
Mm-hmm. Right. I agree. It's well, once the mind is set, they say it's difficult to change it. And if you're not able to give it as an organization, you cannot bid like a lich for one individual at the same time, right?
But to answer the question of how we can turn the tables around, it's as simple as it's the same approach to your individual, to your entry level employee. Have that meaningful, sincere conversation to that person, no matter what the level is. That's the only way that you could turn the tables around.
Vishal, thank you, Marvin.
Yeah, I'm totally with Marvin. It is all about that sincere listening, and that could only tell you that what could be done or could not be done. So turning the tables, I do not know, but it all comes out of that one sincere conversation. So listening is the most important thing, which may give you something which could help you turn the tables. But normally for the C-level, yes, the reason of leaving is more about futuristic direction rather than existing problems. So normally the reason would be always that they do not see the direction of the board or the founders and themselves the same for the next 3 to 5 years future, the way they want to things to move, and what maybe the other members of the board want the company to move in the direction.
Or they have outgrown the company. Can happen.
Yes. Yeah. So that is all about direction again, because ultimately the cause could be different, but it is normally they do not see their directional path to be same.
All right. Okay.
There is a question in the chat box. I think we don't want to miss that.
All right. Omar, yes. Let me read the question from Omar. Thank you, Marvin. The healthcare industry has been deeply affected by the pandemic. Yes, I can summarize the situation of our company as, underpaid, no proper recognition, and overwork. In line with this, what kind of engagement program that the company can initiate in order to retain its talent?
Okay, let me share what I have in mind. So yeah, I'm coming from the perspective now of a consultant, not only as a leader of an organization. So yeah, I would urge companies and their leaders to look into four main things. Yeah, employee well-being. Yeah, it's a progressive, proactive, ongoing part of the strategy, should be. And manager effectiveness. So whether that leader is the manager, whatever title, the effectiveness of that manager, not only in doing the technical or the expertise or the function that he has in the team, it's the people handling skills that matter a lot more. The organizational communication is really critical. People should know where the company is going, what the company is doing. There should be transparency. And of course, I would say it's really basic, taking action on feedback. We are very fond of taking people's feedbacks. We say we have ways of getting the voice of the employee, and yet we do not act on them. Okay, and acting does not mean that we have to heed everything that the employees wish for or desire. We can simply say we cannot afford this time, but we must come back with feedback. It's worse when we take feedback and not act on them than not taking feedback, right? At all. Okay.
I would like to add on to what Vidas mentioned in answer to Omar, I assume Omar Cervantes' question. There are things that an employee engagement initiative or program can answer, because employee engagement is psychological. The answer to that, the solution to that is motivation. But in this example, underpaid, no proper recognition, and overwork, this is not an employee engagement problem or a concern. This is an organization concern. This is an organization problem that needs specific answers and solutions. No amount of employee engagement program can answer that. If there is really that section of the population that's underpaid, the solution to that is to make sure that this unit is not underpaid, right? Because you could do employee engagement, but then again, the underlying concern is not addressed, and being underpaid is wrong.
It's a labor issue.
It's a labor issue itself.
Yes.
And being overworked and no proper recognition is going to be debatable, right? But then again, there has to be that conversation that happens. Again, what I'm trying to say is that there's only so much that employee engagement program can do. You must first answer the hygiene factors within the organization before you could actually do the flowers and the curtains. If you get what I mean.
I would like to add here. I think there were three problem areas which Omar brought out. Right? And one thing I can relate to is I'm 100% sure that there is not 100% of manpower which would be disengaged. Otherwise, they would have all left the organization. So there must be something which would be working in the organization itself. So when we talk about experience analytics, it is not only about finding the negative, what is not working, but also that what is working. There would be few people who would be still engaged. So it would be good to find out that what is working with them as well. So it is not in silos, right? So there could be a problem with a particular segment only and a particular demographic only. And some other segment may have been engaged. There could have been a recognition, could not be an overall problem. It could be that it is working in some segments. It may be very specifically a manager who is responsible in that particular segment. So problem is not recognition, problem is that manager. So that is where exactly digging deeper or listening to each individual, because ultimately every human is different. We all know. So it is different competencies, different behavioral competencies, different requirements, different needs, right? Ultimately, each competency brings the needs as well. So once we know the need of each individual, it becomes very easy to solve those problems, make it actionable at personalized level and at an organizational level, as Marvin said rightly, right? You still need to have debate that what to be done at an organization level on these all three areas, right? So for me, the problem is solved at two ends. One is at a personalized level, also try to find out that what is working, because maybe that is a key motivator. Give it back to more employees. And once you know the negatives, try to find deeper that it is with the whole organization or it is only with particular segments. Once you find out, I think solving the problem becomes easy.
That's true. There are a lot of factors that may not just be summarized in the UNO, right? So going to the root would help. All right. When it comes to human resource and when it comes to all of this, I know that there's a lot of discussions that will surround left and right the employee engagement conversation that we're having. But I'm glad that we were able to nail some of those questions right now and get some clarifications. Thanks to Marvin, thanks to, of course, Darwin, Ms. Vida, and Vishal. I am happy also for the two questions that came out, and I believe they were answered by our experts in the room. I would like to, at this juncture, request for your thoughts also, dear audience, as I run a poll. I have 3 questions for you, because this conversation, the Fireside conversation we're having right now, doesn't end here, but our hope is to, end with a handshake, hopefully. So first question in the poll is, do you feel Umwelt can help you drive employee engagement? Single choice, please. Would you be interested to see the demo? Of course, there are 3 options there. Hopefully you choose number 1. Number 3, with a new hybrid mode, are you planning to conduct employee engagement surveys in your organization often? How often, just in case? Monthly, quarterly, biannual, annual, or not at all? So, would like to know what you think, please. We'll leave you some moments to answer the poll. Okay, thanks so much. We will get back to you, whatever you tell us in the poll. So far, we're looking at wonderful results here. Everybody who said most definitely will reach out to you. All right, thank you so much. So this is the result of our. All right, we're closing the poll right now. Any last word, Vishal?
So I would like to close the discussion with a saying which I firmly believe, right? So there are 3 things I always concentrate on when it comes to employee experience or employee engagement. So for me, the first difference is that experience is in each and every part, whatever we do as an organization, and engagement is ultimately the output. So we can only work on experience, not engagement, because it is an output.
Yes.
So for this, I always believe that there are 3 things which as an organization we should always do. There's first to listen to our people whenever it is possible, to make your people feel loved, because ultimately we are all humans as an organization. The employees are not numbers, but they are humans. So make them feel loved, which builds trust, which is a core of every relationship. Lastly, take actions swiftly. which is again most important, keeps on building this trust forward and forward and forward. So those are three areas which I always realize as in HR professional. I'm not talking about only Umwelt.AI or technology as a founder, but as an HR professional, I sincerely believe these are three areas to build a culture which I would always like to do in an organization. Treating people humanly.
Wonderful. Yeah. We'll never forget those key points. I think feeling love is a lot of job for an HR leader to also implement that, right? But it's true. We all have
still feel a lot rather than think. I believe as a human, that is a core differentiator between us and any other species in this world, that we feel more than what we think. Yes, we have brains, but feeling is very important to us.
Yes, I agree. All right. Thank you so much. I think the real future of leadership is kindness. I saw that article in LinkedIn and I kind of like it. So love, kindness, all of these soft values are the hardest values that we really have to consider in our organizations. So thank you so much. Marvin, you've had given us a lot of gems and nuggets based on your experiences and where you are right now as an HR leader. Congratulations. I really hope that you will influence and inspire more. Of course, Vishal, thank you so much for bringing Umwelt, Nikki, in the industry, and hopefully we see that everybody in the room will find the value and will at least be open enough to have you for the demo, so they will understand how you can support their organizations. That's an invitation, actually. And of course, Ms. Vida, for inspiring us through and through. One of the most sincere people I've ever met in the industry is Ms. Vida Arshaga, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody can go beyond her sincerity and her love. Making people laugh. And I meant that from my heart, Vida. So thank you so much. It's an honor co-presenting with you. You always have these wonderful thoughts. So thank you so much, everyone. Melanie, thank you also for joining us. Thank you. Happy Friday, everyone. In the Philippines, we say Mabuhay Umwelt. May we all put that in our chat box right now. Mabuhay Umwelt. Long live Umwelt. That's how we say it. All right. So we're saying Mabuhay Umwelt. Thank you for presenting this and sponsoring this our chat conversation. I know that we've learned a lot from our wonderful resource people. Darwin, for taking time to video yourself and share those insights. We appreciate you. We'll be sending a copy of this to you as our token of appreciation. So again, my name is Bryce Fabro. I am a friend of these wonderful people in the room, and having been invited to lead this conversation, Fireside conversation, is an honor. I have been their student, and I will continue to do so. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Hug yourself so tight, and please always make sure that you let love save your day. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bryce, Vida, Marvin. It was a great conversation. And thank you, every of the participants. I think without them, we could have not done this at all.
Mabuhay Umwelt.
Thank you.
Are you concerned about disengagement, low productivity, and high attrition? And is connecting with employees, analyzing their state of mind, generating actionable insights, taking up too much of your time? We have just a solution for you. Technology and people science to drive people's success. Meet Nikki, your virtual employee engagement assistant. She listens to your employees anytime, anywhere. Shares insights into organizations' health in real time. Enable actions which matter to drive results proactively. Humanized interactions, real-time insights. proactive actions. It's easy, predictive, scalable.